Hi guys, I've created this presentation just to give you all a realistic and practical guide to achieving optimal health from eating a balanced diet. The presentation is going to be split over into three sections. I'll post each section each week just so you can kind of take it on board in bite-sized chunks, just so it's not too overwhelming for you and so you're not sat here forever and a day listening to my voice. I hope you all get something from this and is of benefit to you. So during the presentation we're going to be covering four main topics. The first thing we're going to look at is how we actually build a meal and what our food is made up of, which includes your macro and micronutrients. Once we've had a look at that, we're then going to move on to actually what this means in practical terms of how we actually achieve a balanced diet. I'm then going to give you some practical tips on day-to-day routines and what you should be trying to achieve every day in terms of what you eat and how you eat and the timing of your meals as well. Finally, I've provided some meal ideas for breakfast, lunch and dinner and some healthy snack options as well. So first of all, we're going to look into the different macronutrients and start piecing together how we build a meal. Now there's three macronutrients available to us, which are protein, carbohydrates and fat. Every single food source available to us will contain a minimum of at least one. Some will contain a strong amount of all three. In terms of protein, its calorific value equals 4 calories per gram. So every gram of protein contains 4 calories. It's responsible for growth and repair. That's not just necessarily relating to our muscles. Say, for example, after we've trained, our body is constantly renewing cells all the time, and protein will play a massive part in that cell growth and renewal. It also does play a massive role in muscle gain. So protein is structural, so our muscles are built from protein. So obviously if we're wanting to increase our muscle mass, we need increased amount of protein in our diet to achieve that. Some good sources of protein listed below are chicken, turkey, beef, lamb and pork, liver, eggs, cottage cheese and dairy. We have different types of fish. So you've got white fish such as cod, oily fish such as tuna and salmon, shellfish and game. From a vegetarian point of view, we have pulses such as lentils, chickpeas. We have whey protein powder, which we can use to supplement our protein intake. We have tofu and we also have nuts. Good sources of protein in terms of nuts are things like cashews, almonds and pistachio nuts. Okay, so the second macronutrient that we have available to us are carbohydrates. On the calorific value, they come in at 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. Now this is the main source of energy in our body, so this is what we use as fuel. It's also used to help support the immune system. One of the main reasons why after training we're most susceptible to illness is because our carbohydrate stores are depleted. So it's really important after training that we have a good source of carbohydrate to restore those energy stores, as well as to help support that immune system. The types of food that contain carbohydrates are wheat-based products such as bread, pasta and couscous. We also have the various types of rice, and our more natural sources come from fruit, vegetables, root vegetables such as sweet potatoes, normal potatoes, and again, dairy such as milk. Now, I get asked a lot about wheat and the fact that it contains gluten, and is that necessarily good or bad for you? Now, it all depends on the individual. So bread and pasta, as long as it's eaten in moderation, is a really good source of carbohydrate. However, if you have a gluten intolerance, which would be indicated by if you've eaten something that contains gluten, you feel quite lethargic after it or bloated, that probably points towards that you may have a gluten intolerance. That might not necessarily be then a good source of carbohydrate for you. But if you don't suffer from those symptoms, then again, like I said, as long as it's eaten in moderation, they're absolutely fine to eat as an energy source. So last but not least, our final macronutrient is fat. The first thing you're going to notice with regards to fat is if you have a look at its calorific value, it's over twice as calorific as protein and carbohydrates. So for every gram of fat, it contains 9 calories. So that's the first thing we need to be careful of. Fats are very, very good for you, which we're going to talk about in a second, but we just need to be aware that they are a lot more calorific than our other types of macronutrients. So the main role of fat in the body is to offer us insulation and protection of vital organs. We'll all have a thin layer of fat around those vital organs just to give us that protection to keep them healthy. It also maintains a healthy cholesterol level if we're eating the correct types of fat, so unsaturated fats. The worst type of fat that you should try to avoid at all costs are your trans fats. This comes from industrially produced fat such as margarine. A lot of snack food contains it, and the biggest culprit is the oil that a lot of fast food restaurants would use to cook with. But if you're eating good levels of fat, it's going to keep your cholesterol levels low, helping you prevent high blood pressure and reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease. It also promotes a healthy metabolism. So your metabolism is the rate at which we burn calories. So if you've got a healthy metabolism, you're going to burn calories a lot more efficiently and therefore be less susceptible to gaining weight. And it's our secondary form of energy. So when we're sat down or lying down, for example, if we're sleeping, the main source of energy that we would use is from fat. If it is a faster type of activity, such as standing up out of a chair really quickly or sprinting, our carbohydrates are going to be the main source of energy. So foods that contain good fats are olive oil and coconut oil. That's what I'd recommend cooking with. You also have dairy, such as butter and cheese, and another source of food that contains high levels of fat are nuts, again, such as almonds, cashews, pistachios, as mentioned previously. One thing I'll quickly say is most foods contain more than one macronutrient. So, for example, if we take fish, such as salmon, it's got a really healthy level of protein, but it also has a good source of fat in there as well. Another good example would be rice. Rice has got the majority of calories from it contained are from carbohydrates, but it also has a moderate level of protein in there as well. So just be aware of that when we're looking at building a meal. We'll go into that a little bit more detail later on. Okay, we're going to have a look at micronutrients now. So they come in the form of vitamins and minerals. These don't contain in themselves any calorific value in the body. However, they're extremely vital for us to eat a rounded level of each vitamin and mineral available to ensure that our body functions at its optimal level and sustain life. You don't need massive quantities of each of the vitamins and minerals, you just need a consistent supply of them. Our body doesn't naturally manufacture them, so we have to source these from the different foods that we eat. Okay, so the vitamins. I'm sure you've probably heard of all of these vitamins here. You know, multivitamins are available in the shops, for example. Your best source of vitamins comes from your natural foods. If you're eating a really rounded, balanced diet containing a variety of fruit and vegetables, you will be getting a sufficient level of vitamins in your body. To then take vitamin pills on top of that isn't necessary at all. So if you're looking at the list here, just briefly, we've got vitamin A, which is important for growth and development. Vitamin D is responsible for bone health, so maintaining good bone density and preventing diseases such as arthritis or osteoporosis. Vitamin E for circulation, protection from free radicals. Vitamin K, which is responsible for our blood clotting when we bleed, which is obviously important. We've got vitamin C, which is collagen formation, antioxidant function, and iron absorption. We've got our vitamin B complex, the energy production, nervous system, immune system, and iron absorption. And you've got folic acid, which is for cell renewal and also prevents birth defects in pregnancy. You can also have a look at the signs of if you might be slightly deficient in these vitamins. If you're slightly deficient in these, they're not necessarily going to come out in these different symptoms shown here. That's more if you're severely deficient in these sources. As you can see across, it's just got a quick example of each type of vitamin of a good source of each. There are plenty of others if you look online, if you want to see what other foods contain the various different vitamins. But looking at that there, eating those 7 food sources there, you're pretty much going to cover all bases for your vitamin intake. So it doesn't actually take a lot to be able to achieve optimum vitamin levels in your body. Okay, we've got your minerals as well. So calcium, iron, zinc, iodine, and chromium. Again, all play a vital role in their own part. So calcium for bone and teeth formation, iron, red blood cell formation, zinc, immune health, growth and development and fertility, iodine for growth and thyroid function, and chromium for glucose function. Again, as you can see, those 5 food sources is not exclusive to those food groups, but it just gives you an example of some decent foods that's going to give you the mineral quantities that you require for optimum health. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. Next week we're going to be looking at how we put all those macro and micronutrients together to achieve a balanced diet. We're going to be looking at the ratios of macro and micronutrients, as well as the important factor of calorific intake as well to achieve your goals. Okay, so hope you all have a good week, and I'll speak to you again next week.